The following video is not made for kids. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello to my subscribers, this is the TFangy coming to you with what will hopefully be a successful review. And tonight we're going to be taking a look at a Transformers action figure that I've been wanting to review for quite some time. This figure came out a little over a year ago, in 2024. And a lot of Transformers fans and collectors had high hopes for this figure, but even though it's not a top gem Transformers action figure, a lot of people still enjoy having it in their Transformers collection, and it is the Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee movie leader class concept art Megatron. So yeah, this guy is based on some concept artwork from a design for Megatron that would have been used in the Bumblebee movie had Megatron appeared. Now, this figure has an interesting history, which I will try to get to the gist of right away. Long story short, when it came to deciding which Transformers characters would appear in the live-action Transformers Bumblebee movie, Megatron was the character who got the short stick, the shaft, the bucket, and he never actually appeared in the film. And the reason for that is because apparently halfway through production, the producers couldn't decide if the Bumblebee movie would be a reboot and would be an entirely original story unconnected to the previous live-action films, or if it would be a prequel to the first live-action Transformers movie released in 2007. And if it was going to be a prequel, it would make no sense for Megatron to appear in the film, since in the first movie released in 2007, it was revealed that Megatron had left Cybertron and arrived on Earth a few hundred years ago. And that he'd been kept by the U.S. government frozen inside of Hoover Dam. And so because of that decision to change the Bumblebee movie from, basically being undecided if the Bumblebee movie would be a prequel to the first live-action film in 2007 or if it would be a reboot, Megatron ended up being the character who got the lousiest deal in the movie, and he never got past the concept stage for it. So to get an action figure based on the concept artwork that was designed for Megatron had he appeared in the Bumblebee movie, it was a nice breath of fresh air for Transformers fans and collectors. But for the action figure here itself, in the Studio Series line, what made this Megatron action figure special is that this, I believe, was the first leader class sized G1 inspired Megatron action figure that came out since the Combiner Wars Megatron figure that was released in 2015, 9 years earlier. Almost every Megatron figure released in between Combiner Wars and concept art Megatron was Voyager class sized or smaller. And so it was a nice breath of fresh air to once again have a leader class sized action figure of Megatron. And even though it's takes a lot, even though the designs for the Bumblebee movie were mashups of the designs from the first live-action films along with Generation 1, it's still a pretty decent-looking Megatron action figure. So the version of Studio Series concept art Megatron that I added to my Transformers collection comes in the Takara Omi box, which doesn't have a window on it. Back last year in 2024, when Hasbro released their copies of concept art Megatron in North America, it came in an open window packaging when open windows were still being used in the Legacy line and also Studio Series. And at the time when I got concept art Megatron off of Amazon, the version that came in Takara Tomi's box for the Japanese markets, it actually was going for several dollars cheaper than the Hasbro release of Megatron. And so yeah, that was a really nice surprise to get a version of him inside a closed box. So here's the artwork of Megatron on the front of the box, showing what he possibly would have looked like had he appeared in the Bumblebee movie. And one of 3 alt modes that he actually has of a battle tank is one pictured on the front of the box. You got a close-up of Megatron's face, the Decepticon symbol, and because this is the Takara Tomy box that was made for Japanese markets, you got a lot of Japanese numbering down here. Also, the number of the Studio Series number figure that Megatron is in Japanese, that concept art Megatron is in Japanese markets, he's number 127. And in North American markets here in the United States, I believe the Hasbro release of concept art Megatron, he was number 103. So yeah, make what you will of that. But there's at least 24 other Studio Series Transformers figures that have been released exclusively by Takara Tomy in Japanese markets. So take what you will from that information. You got the Bumblebee movie logo there on the top of the box. Got the word Transformers written right here on the side of the box. I saw that side of the box already. Here on the back we got an image of Megatron in his robot mode again, and of course his tank mode. And then halfway in the lower half of Megatron on his torso is done in this blue hologram to show that he is concept art. So far there have been at least 3 Transformers action figures that have been released that were based solely on concept art and were based on characters that didn't appear in the Transformers films they were going to appear in. Bumblebee movie Megatron was the first one. Another one was Bumblebee movie Sunstreaker. And then a female character whose action figure... please excuse me for yawning on camera. It's really late at night when I'm filming this. There was a female one, Widowmaker, I believe is her name. She's a female Decepticon who didn't make it into the final movie for, I believe it was supposed to be the Rise of the Beast film, but I could be incorrect. But yeah, so far Megatron has been the first of 3 action figures in the Studio Series line. I am based solely off of concept art and didn't actually appear in the film. So that's pretty much all there is to say. Because this is the Takara Tomy exclusive version of Megatron, on the back of the box there's all the lettering is in Japanese, including the very extensive warning label here on the bottom of the box. But you at least get at least one photo on the box of Megatron's second alternate mode of a Cybertronian jet. So officially, concept art Megatron is a triple changer. However, after some time, Transformers fans and collectors who wanted to see this version of Megatron transform into a handgun, just like Generation 1 Megatron, fiddled around with it, and he does, in fact, have the ability of transforming into a handgun. It's not the best alt mode out of the 3 alt modes that he has. A lot of Transformers fans and collectors have said that the alt modes are where concept art Megatron kind of fails to be must-have Transformers action figure, and one that many collectors have easily passed on. Not only is his transformation somewhat finicky, but yeah, again, his alt modes aren't the greatest. The tank mode, jet mode, and even the fan-created pistol mode for Megatron, for concept art Megatron. They aren't the greatest alt modes to have. But as I lose my train of thought almost, at least it shows that there is some versatility to this action figure. But yeah, there's no way of reading the steps since they aren't included on the box here. So I don't know how many steps he transforms into between all 3 of his modes, but I'm assuming it's a lot. And as I said, this is the Takara Tomy iterating version of the box, so that's what makes this version extra special. I technically already took the tape off, so I've already opened it up and taken a peek inside Megatron. And the main reason why I did that is ever since I got this off of Amazon, which I believe was at the start of this year, is when I got concept art Megatron. One of the reasons why I wanted to review him is because of this. So for those who can't hear it, I opened up the box and I'll show it to you while he's still inside there. It's kind of hard to tell because my lamp's not picking up, but on this copy of Megatron, his fusion cannon came loose from the bindings holding it in place, and so his fusion cannon's been rattling around here inside the box the whole time. So that's what motivated me to open up Megatron and take him out. So far, there's been no word from Hasbro on concept art Megatron being one of the Transformers action figures that might get a re-release. Many Transformers fans and collectors, despite his flaws, have still found it difficult trying to find concept art Megatron. When he was out in full swing, everyone was buying him up just because they were eager to finally get after, again, as I said, since it had been 9 years since the previous leader class sized Megatron figure had been released. So that's what the figure had going for it, was the fact that it was sold and marketed as a leader class Transformers action figure. So without further delay, let's hurry up and get concept art Megatron out of his box and take a close look at him in his robot mode. Alright, and so at long last, here is the Transformers Studio Series Bumblebee movie concept art Megatron, an action figure out of his box, and yeah, he definitely has an equal amount of both pros and cons. I won't get too much into what the drawbacks are for him, but one of the big ones that was actually been the make it or break it deal with a lot of collectors on whether they get this version of Megatron or not is his size. Even though he was sold and marketed as a leader class Transformers action figure, he's only slightly taller than most Voyager class size Transformers figures, and so I personally was kind of hoping Megatron was going to be a little bigger than what he actually is. But considering the fact that I keep saying it to emphasize it, and I can't emphasize it enough. But one of the selling points of this figure is that it was the first Megatron action figure sold and marketed at leader class price point since the Combiner Wars Megatron released back in 2015. For articulation, he is very well articulated. Megatron has a ball-jointed neck, so be careful with that. So the head has the ability to turn left and right and spin left and right 360 degrees. But yeah, really nice head sculpt on Megatron. It's a nice mashup of both the live-action movie designs. And it's from the first Transformers film and also Generation 1. The designs for the Transformers characters from the Bumblebee movie are ones that most Transformers fans and collectors have come to enjoy, and rather than the whole-on design for the Transformers characters that were created for the first live-action movie in 2007, Megatron is one of those prime examples of a perfect mashup of Generation 1 and movie-verse Transformers versus those that are just one or the other. But yeah, articulated head, arms can spin 360 degrees, ease forward and backwards. And one nice thing about concept art Megatron is that he really has a very tiny backpack, so there's no kibble to hinder on the articulation of his robot mode, which is really nice. Swivel joints at the shoulders, swivel joints at the bicep, hinged elbows, and this I believe is really cool. Well, it's something I've only seen on third-party Transformers. I can't remember the last time, if or when I ever saw it on an official Hasbro released or even Takara Tomy released Transformers action figure, but in addition to having wrist swivels for his hands, so the hands can spin clockwise and counterclockwise 360 degrees, Bumblebee movie concept art Megatron has fully articulated fingers, and they don't all move together on one giant hinge, which is what Hasbro does with a lot of their Transformers action figures who end up having individual hand articulation. They advise the I just lost my total train of thought. I forgot what I was rambling on about. But yeah, nice fully articulated hands there. Most oftentimes it's literally once in a blue moon when you'll see a Transformers action figure that's not third party have articulated fingers on their hands, since it's much cheaper for Hasbro and Takara Tomy to manufacture Transformers figures that have a standard 5mm port, or usually inside a hand that's sculpted in the shape of a fist. Yes, yeah, pretty nice there. So yeah, a lot of hand articulation due to the individually movable fingers. Waist swivel, universal jointed hips, but you do have to move these side panels out of the way to fully utilize Megatron's leg articulation, so they can go forward this far, can go back this far. Hinge joint at the knee. And I believe, yeah, that's it. There's no heel spurs or anything that pop out to help stabilize concept art Megatron, which I think could have helped the figure a great deal with standing up without having to prop it or lean it back against something. Really nice version of the fusion cannon here that Megatron wields on his arm. I kind of wish they would have put the pin joint to hold the 5mm port to Megatron's arm for the fusion cannon. Kind of wish they put it right there below my finger where that screw is, because for me personally, it just feels like it's at an awkward spot with the fusion cannon attaching it to Vector Prime. I mean, had Vector Prime allowed to establish it this high up on his arm, then I think there would have been in calmer minds to prevail. So yeah, that's I lost my train of thought again, because again, it's very late at nighttime, but getting back to articulation, hinged knees, the ankles are on a double joint. Alright, so be very careful when posing concept art Megatron with his feet in robot mode. Oh, and speaking of robot mode, for a brief size comparison with a random Transformers action figure, I decided to pull out another G1 inspired Megatron action figure that I've had in my Transformers collection even longer than concept art Megatron. So for a size comparison with a random Transformers figure, here is Studio Series Bumblebee movie concept art Megatron next to the Transformers Cyberverse Ultimate Class Megatron figure here. So yeah, I was kind of hoping this version of Megatron would probably rival this one in terms of sheer overall size. But he's just like a majority of leader class Transformers that have come out in recent years, where they're more closer to Voyager class size themselves. But yeah, there's a brief size comparison there with Cyberverse Ultimate Class Megatron. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I do enjoy the paint layout of a gunmetal gray and silvery gray on concept art Megatron. To break up the gray and make him not so monotonous, the designers decided to excuse me as I show off how tired I am. They decided to make the hinge joint for the elbow in Megatron's robot mode. That part is made entirely out of red plastic. I think the upper arms, they're also done in almost the same style of red I'd used on the other dogs for After Midnight, as I lost my train of thought there. I was, what in the world are you babbling on about, Tia Fangy? I hear you in the back of the room saying, oh, I was dreaming about a cartoon I watched once, and as I said, it's late at night, and I'm trying to find the words to get this review out, because I didn't want to wait until tomorrow, since I'm doing a lot of stuff tomorrow, which I'm looking back on, I probably should have done, and waited until tomorrow before doing concept art Megatron's review. So, before I embarrass myself even further, let's hurry up and get this guy transformed into his first alt mode. I will start off by going him into whatever mode is quickest in the instruction sheet, and then we will take a Eden. So yes, let's get this guy transformed and see what he looks like in his alternate modes. Alright, and so here is concept art Megatron in his tank mode. It's not the greatest tank, but for the designers we're going for, or making him almost like a mashup of Revenge of the Fallen, Megatron, with previous versions of other Transformers that had Cybertronian tanks for alt modes. They did an okay job, I personally think. One of the main drawbacks is that the turret is attached to the very back of the tank, so if you wanted to rotate the turret around, yeah, that just looks silly. But at least the cannon does have the spinning feature, which is really cool. Now I couldn't quite get the arms at the angles where they line up straight. That's one thing to be mindful of when you transform concept art Megatron into tank mode, is that everything has to line up properly in order for him to transform correctly. But yeah, there he is in his tank mode. And for a size comparison, once again, here he is with the Transformers Cyberverse Ultimate Megatron. So yeah, huge size difference between these two Transformers figures. So without further delay, let's get Megatron transformed into his next alt mode, which is the flying alt mode of a Cybertronian jet. Alright, and so here is Megatron transformed into his jet mode, and I'm almost certain I haven't quite transformed it correctly, because half of the panel sections don't want to line up properly But all things considered, the jet mode, yeah, it's not the most exciting or interesting alt mode. Oh, but at least it's something besides the tank that Megatron can transform into. Ooh, and at least the cockpit it has some nice red paint on it. So yeah, there is the jet mode, not the most exciting alt mode for Megatron to have, but at least it makes him a triple changer. And now let's move on to his final alt mode of the handgun. Alright, and so rounding off the review, here is the fan and mode of a handgun. So just like Generation 1 Megatron on concept art, our Bumblebee movie Megatron now transforms into a handheld weapon. It looks the best angle to look at it is here on the side view, where this one leg forms the handle, and this one is the, of course, the barrel here on top. But some people point out that the hip skirt can go in and out like an actual trigger, so that's something that makes it interesting. But as I said, the side angle is the best angle to view it, because if you look at it from the top, yeah, there's a huge, putting my hand behind it, there's a huge gap right there. So it's not a and unfortunately the way Megatron's arms transform, there's no way of bringing the fusion cannon closer without the arms moving out of shape and going in different directions. So yeah, it's basically an optical illusion, and you can angle the illusion. Nothing really holds in place too well. Now, since again, this is a mode that was created by fans wanting to see the Bumblebee movie Megatron figure transform into the same alt mode that the original Generation 1 Megatron transformed into. Recently, there's been a knockoff version of concept art Megatron that's been released, and the designers of that knockoff acknowledged this fan mode that was discovered by fans. And so yeah, unofficially, concept movie Megatron is a quadruple changer with this third handgun alternate mode. If you wanted to, you could raise the leg that forms the gun handle right here on the back, and can kind of make it like a space cannon almost, but it's even more stretch of the imagination. But yeah, this fan mode, even though it's not the most stable alternate mode, it might be the best of the three modes, I personally feel, for concept art Megatron. And just again, one last time, here he is next to the Cyberverse Megatron. So yeah, he really extends outward in this fan mode. And yeah, even though this is not an official alternate mode, this has become only the second action figure of Megatron that transforms into a blaster weapon that I have in my Transformers collection. The first one is the hard to find Henkei version of Megatron that I got several years ago off of Amazon. But yeah, there he is in his fan mode. So for the final proverbial question, do I recommend getting the Studio Series Bumblebee movie concept art Megatron figure and adding it to your Transformers collection? I really recommend getting this if you're a fan of Megatron in general, and if you like leader class S-sized action figures of Megatron. And if you can ignore the fact that Megatron unfortunately failed to appear in the Bumblebee movie, then yeah, overall it's a pretty fun Megatron action figure. Lately, most Megatron action figures haven't been multi-changers possessing different alternate modes, so this might be one of the most versatile and most play value Megatron action figure that's out there. So yeah, I highly recommend getting this figure if you can find it at a decent price. If not, and then it can be an easy path, as for most Transformers fans and collectors. But yeah, there is a Studio Series Bumblebee movie concept art Megatron in his fan and-made G1 alternate mode. So thank you guys all so much for watching, and thank you for putting up with my half asleep, half awake mind throughout this review. For those who stuck around to the end, a thumbs up, and thank you for watching the entire review. And so until next time, you guys, this has been the TF Fan Geek. And again, thank you guys all so much for watching. I highly recommend getting the Studio Series concept art Megatron on, at least for this fan mode right here, because this might be the only Megatron figure we'll ever get in modern times that has the same type of vault mode as Generation 1 Megatron. So until next time, you guys, please remember to stay safe, stay healthy, transform, and roll out. Goodbye, everyone.